ask for no help, I just did it by myself. Can't nobody tell me no, no, no. And they ain't gotta love you, long as you just love you, you gon' be alright on your own. Straight up the dome.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and hopefully we work out this time. If you were tuning in with us from that first part, sorry about that. We had some sound issues we had to get over, but hopefully those sound issues are tackled, and we'll move on right along. Yeah. Welcome to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast.
Keep it rolling.
Thank you for listening in, whether you're listening in on newrockradio.us or watching in on all the Radio House platforms. We really appreciate you. Before we head on out, before we, had to restart here, we were talking about high school football. Again, we want to shout out to St. Charles Catholic. Shout out to Letcher High School. Shout out to Destrehan for winning the state championships. Shout out to Riverside for a huge turnaround. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a state championship out of them in the next coming years. Yeah. Coach Lee really has them boys. Got them boys buzzing right now. Riverside looks really, really good. So very excited to say that the River Parishes is representing well in high school football. And then we were just about to get into the LSU Fighting Tigers. Talked about how they, unfortunately they lost their last game against Georgia, 50-30 in the SEC championship. A very high scoring affair there. Nothing we didn't expect though. Both high powered offenses. What did you think of the year as a whole, though? Like, looking back on the entire year, from where we started to where we finished, what do you think about the LSU Tigers?
So, I actually really liked what I saw, especially considering that at the beginning of the year, many people had already counted the Tigers out, saying that, it's going to be kind of a rebuild, but we did go through a rebuild, but it didn't take as long as expected.
No, yeah. Over-under was set at like 6 wins to start the year. A lot of people were expecting a 500 team, maybe finish 4th in the SEC West, maybe make a bowl game if we're lucky type thing.
Yeah.
Yet here we are sitting at 9-4, made it to the SEC championship, won the SEC West, beat Bama.
That's the key there for me.
Yeah, absolutely. We beat Bama, we beat Auburn, we beat Arkansas. All these other teams that people expect to be at the top of the SEC West. We beat Ole Miss when they were ranked, and we weren't. We had a much better season than anybody was expecting. When you talk about that rebuild, you're talking about having Brian Kelly come in his first season. A very infamous coach, Brian Kelly. Everybody knows the name. Everybody knows him from schools like Cincinnati and Notre Dame, where, he never won the big one, but he always won games.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the winningest coaches in college football history, one of the highest winning percentages in general. He doesn't lose very much. And he showed that again this year with LSU, going 9-4 in a season where the quarterback was new, the running back was new, we had new receivers, 2 freshmen starting on the O-line, and not only on the O-line, but the 2 tackle positions, the 2 anchors of your offensive line were 2 true freshmen. Tons of new guys on defense, lost a bunch of people last year, and only a couple years removed from a national championship. I mean, the stakes were high and the odds were stacked against us, and yet we prevailed. So, although everybody wants a national championship every season, we have to be realistic. You can't get that.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud of what the LSU Tigers did this season.
Yeah, I definitely consider this season a win, but mostly in the point that moving forward, I think this is great building, a structure to build off of for the next few years.
Absolutely.
Under Brian Kelly, under this amazing offense, this outstanding defense.
Yeah. When our team was healthy, we were one of the best teams in the country. Yeah. Unfortunately, we did see Jaden Daniels go down at the end of the year, and his future is something we don't really know right now. He could come back for another year. He could go into the draft. Heck, he could even transfer again. Yeah. So, the transfer portal's huge right now. They have over 1,000 people in the transfer portal at the moment, from every level: Division I, Division I, Division II, FBS, FCS. Whatever the case may be, that transfer portal is huge right now with the NCAA. So we'll see how that all shakes out. I expect us to probably get a couple guys. I don't know who. I know one guy I have my eye on particularly is Denver Harris, 5-star corner last year, ended up going to Texas A&M, and basically as soon as the transfer portal opened up, he was like, I'm in there. I'm in the transfer portal. My commitment, my recruitment's 100% open. If you want me, come get me type thing. So I have my eye on him. There's a lot of guys in there right now that LSU should and could go after. We have a couple of our own guys who entered their names in there, specifically Jack Besh, which, it's unfortunate because 2 years ago we thought he was going to be the leader or one of the leaders on our offense. And then last year, throughout the season, we just kind of saw him disappear. I mean,
yeah, he kind of filled more of a special teams role than an offensive presence.
Yeah, I mean, and then not only that, but he was dropping punts and fumbling on kickoff returns. So he almost got to a point where he wasn't even seeing the field after being one of the best freshmen on the team just a couple of years ago. So we'll see where Jack Besh goes. He could always come back. That's not out of the question. We saw that happen with Miles Brennan. Went into the transfer portal, ended up coming back, and then basically retired from football. But I really expect big things out of these Tigers in the next coming years. Brian Kelly did I hated on him before the season a lot.
Yeah.
I was a big hater of the signing, but very proud of what he did with the Tigers. Very proud of the Tigers in general. Earlier on Twitter, the LSU football account released some team awards that they awarded to the team at a banquet. So like they had their own team awards. It wasn't anything nationally ranked or anything like that, but just a way to acknowledge what the guys did throughout the season. So I'm just going to quickly read off the list here, and then we can discuss a little bit of it, what we think, maybe who got snubbed of an award, who do you think was really deserving type thing. So real quick here, MVP of the team was Jaden Daniels. Defensive Player of the Year was Harold Perkins. Offensive Player of the Year was Josh Williams. Newcomer of the Year was Greg Brooks Jr. Special Teams Player of the Year was Jay Bramblett. The Butch Dewey Award, which is an award that takes the 3 pillars of strength, leadership, and character, and is awarded to a player based on that. That went to Allie Gay. The George M. Wallace Award is given to a player based on kind of their all-around performance, whether that's the performance on the field, their leadership, their commitment to the team type thing. That one went to B.J. Ojolari. Lineman of the Year went to Will Campbell. Most improved player on the offensive side was Charles Turner. On the defensive side, Micah Baskerville. The back of the year was Jarek Bernard Converse. And then the Athletic Development Award, named the Alvin Roy Award, that one went to Makai Wingo. What are your thoughts on just a couple of the awards? What do you think stood out to you?
So, I mean, obviously, MVP, Depoy, and Opoy. Jaden Daniels, very deserving of that MVP award. Mm-hmm. Showing up and showing out, really. He walked onto that field, and his presence was felt almost immediately.
Yeah, and if he wasn't, like, so darn good, you could be like, oh, he also deserved most improved, because from what we saw in the first 3 games to where he ended the season, 2 completely different players. Very deserving of that team MVP award.
Soundman starting with jokes already.
Oh, we love some jokes from Soundman.
Talking about the back of the year, Jarek Bernard Converse. Mm-hmm. He said, Converse, you sure he wasn't the shoe of the year?
The shoe of the year took place 2 years ago when Marco Wilson decided to pick one up and toss it down the field. That was the shoe of the year. But, MVP Jaden Daniels, Defensive Player of the Year, the guy I've been hyping up all season, and it ended up working out.
It wasn't a surprise to me.
It wasn't a surprise. Harold Perkins, freshman, true freshman, and just like, he's just so good at everything he does. Yeah. He's, in my opinion, a better, more versatile Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Like, that's a player comp that I think everybody's going to make, so it's not like I'm, some big brain out of the woodwork guy, but like, you watch him and you're like, yeah. I mean, he has everything you want in a player. Really, really happy for Harold Perkins. Really happy we got him.
He's a big guy. Like, he's like, so he's not small, like, I bet you're fast. He's a bigger guy.
Yeah, he's like 6'2", Like,
we've seen him get into the backfield and stop the run for negative yards, sack the quarterback. And then we've also seen him in pass coverage, breaking up passes.
Yeah, going anything you could
step
want.
For step with a receiver.
Absolutely. Offensive Player of the Year, Josh Williams, a guy I think is really underrated.
Yeah,
I've been saying it for a couple weeks now. I think He's one of the most underrated players on the entire LSU team. What he gives us is he's a phenomenal running back for our system. I don't think he doesn't get enough love in my opinion, but he was a great player all year long. Really happy that he got that recognition.
I think one of the reasons he's underrated is just because of how crowded of a backfield we did have this past season. With Emery coming back from injury, Josh Williams, Armani Goodwin also got some touches back there.
Yep.
I think that if he was like the standalone back, probably would have had a much better season. Get more touches, more yards. Usually how it goes.
Yeah.
But with the crowded backfield, I think that he was a little underrated, but also at the same time, looking forward, I think he is our best option.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved what we saw out of Josh Williams this year. And then just one more thing I wanted to touch on with the Butch Dewey and George M. Wallace Awards, those that are more about what they do off the field rather than what they do on the field. The character of the guys couldn't be less surprised, I should say, that it's Ali Gay and B.J. Ojolari, two guys who have been around the Tigers for a very long time, very experienced guys, the leaders of the defense on either side. That defensive line basically swept the awards here. I think all four of them got something.
Yeah.
So I love Ali Gay, love B.J. Ojolari. Those guys I think are going to do really big things on the next level in the NFL. Really glad to say that they were Tigers.
Yeah, definitely.
Coming up next for the Tigers, they are ranked number 17 right now, and we won't see them again until January 2nd when they take on Purdue in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. I wonder who's going to wake up feeling the cheesiest that day.
Shut the hell up.
But yeah, LSU will be taking on Purdue January 2nd in the Citrus Bowl.
Not to be confused with the Cheez-It Bowl.
Right, there's the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl. Both are taking place in Orlando, where Florida State will be playing in the Cheez-It Bowl, LSU will be playing in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, and then they will be playing against each other in Orlando again at the beginning of next season.
That's a lot of cheese.
It's a lot of cheese.
In Orlando.
But yeah, make sure to check out LSU on January 2nd. We're going to talk about them when it gets closer. Don't you worry. College football as a whole, though, we're seeing that kind of take shape. All the bowl games are getting ready to head underway. But before we get to that, let's talk about the playoffs.
Shaping up to be a really exciting playoff.
I think it's going to be a really good playoff. We've got number 1 versus number 4 with Georgia versus Ohio State. That should be a great one. And then number 3 versus number 2, TCU versus Michigan. It's going to be it's 4 really good football teams. Really excited for what we've got in this playoffs. Let's give some predictions for each game. What do you got at that Georgia Ohio State game?
So there's Georgia and Ohio State. Ohio State's looking to make it back to the championship and get revenge on Michigan.
Yeah.
However, don't think they can make it past Georgia.
Georgia looked good, man. They've looked good all year. They've had a couple down days, but they've never lost.
And here's why. So in that Ohio State-Michigan game, I think it's clear that was Ohio State's toughest opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense in the second half fell apart.
Horrid.
Georgia's offense, in my opinion, is better than Michigan's offense.
I would agree.
Especially in the second half.
Yeah. Second half Georgia is a monster.
So I might have Georgia winning this one.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the finals.
Yeah.
And then my favorite matchup, TCU and Michigan.
That's going to be a good one.
I really want TCU to shock the world.
I would love it. I would love to see TCU come out and make it to the national championship.
But coming off of a loss in the conference championship game.
A hard-fought loss, though. It's not like they gave up or got blown out.
Yeah.
That was a scrappy inch-for-inch game.
So there's that, and there's also the fact that they had some real close games with teams that they probably shouldn't have played close, like Baylor.
West
winning
Virginia.
on that last second field goal.
Absolutely.
And then Michigan, who's pretty much dominated.
Yeah.
Even Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan's point differential, I don't know it off the top of my head, but if I had to guess, it's probably one of the highest in the country.
So, unfortunately, I'm going to have to be taking Michigan to move on.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. We saw them dominate. And it's not like they're only dominating bad teams. Like even when they play good teams, they're still dominating the good teams. They're not one of those teams that they're like playing up or down to their opponent. They're playing Michigan football, and Michigan football is really good this year. So going on my predictions, Georgia versus Ohio State, two very high-powered offenses. You've got C.J. Stroud and Stetson Bennett. Both were in the Heisman running, finished 3 and 4. You've got wide receivers on either side that are both going to make it to the NFL. You've got a dynamic rushing attack from both teams. And you've got a defense where they can either be really good or let something go. But I think the team that has shown me more defensively is Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Ohio State is a more inconsistent defense. They're more inconsistent offense as well. Personally, I think Ohio State's high is higher than Georgia's high as far as offensive goes. But defensively, Georgia can literally shut you out, and no one will be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen what they did to Tennessee a few weeks ago.
I mean, Tennessee...
Coming into the game, they were probably the best offense in the nation.
Yeah, I mean, they were averaging over 40 points a game, Tennessee was, and then Georgia holds them to under 20. So we've seen Georgia's defense dominate teams. Actually, LSU scored the most against Georgia all year long, and they scored 30 points.
Yeah.
Which in college football, not even that much.
It's
like
not
that's
guaranteed to win.
That's kind of like average for high-powered college football teams. So I mean, if Georgia allows 30 points to Ohio State, it'll be a shock to me for sure. But they can still pull it out. So I'm gonna take Georgia over Ohio State. The more fun matchup, in my opinion, TCU versus Michigan. This one for me, I know a lot of people are thinking, Michigan's got this. I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah.
It depends which TCU team we get. Do we get TCU that just played against Kansas State and they're super scrappy and going inch for inch on every single play and fighting for every yard? Is Max Duggan going to take an 80-yard touchdown up the left sideline?
Or are we going to see the TCU that played Iowa State?
Yeah, and destroyed them by like 60 points, where it's just drop back, take 3 steps, and air it out, and you score every time. Like, is it going to be the video game TCU, or is it going to be the down in the dirt TCU? To me, I think that's what this game depends on.
Yeah. If
we get that like video game, like passing all over the field, air raid offense, which off the college football playoffs for a second, RIP to Mike Leach, talking about that air raid offense. Super sad. I mean, he was one of the most entertaining people of all time. Like,
had some great interviews.
Yeah, and not only that, but like he is an innovator in college football. You don't get these air raid offenses without Mike Leach and what he did at Washington State. I mean, you saw guys who you don't see in the NFL at all who led college football like 6 years in a row in passing yards because of what Mike Leach did to college football. We don't get 2019 LSU without Mike Leach, with what he did for the game of football. So RIP to Mike Leach, condolences and prayers to his family and to the Mississippi State community. We may be Tigers, but everybody loves Mike Leach.
Yeah.
So now that that's out the way, it depends which TCU team we get. I think if it's that scrappy game, Michigan's gonna take it.
Yeah,
because they dominate on both sides of the line. The O-line for Michigan is probably going to win O-line of the year, whatever that award's called. And then their defensive line will get at you too. So if it's that scrappy game where it's back and forth, I've got Michigan. But if TCU can find their rhythm and really get the ball moving, I think TCU could pull it out.
Yeah, I think TCU, it's a good matchup because TCU's offense does the thing that Michigan's defense is bad at. Not saying that it's bad. It's just Michigan is better at defending the run than it is the pass. And TCU is much better at passing the ball than they are running.
Yeah.
And then even with that, if you can get them on their heels, passing the ball a few times, score a few times, it'll open up the run game, especially for Duggan on just scrambles, like design QB runs. Because that Michigan secondary,
I mean, when they're there, they're there.
Yeah. I'm not saying they're bad whatsoever because
like
obviously
they showed
they're
up against Ohio
State.
State. They made C.J. Stroud look like a scrub.
Yeah.
But we have seen them get. I mean, Purdue, they threw for like 350 yards on them. And Purdue's not like a super high-powered, pass the ball all over you type team like TCU is. So, Michigan definitely has weaknesses. I know I picked, I was strong on Georgia for the first one. I'm not very strong on TCU or Michigan, but if I had to take a guess, unfortunately, I want TCU to win.
Me too.
Like,
I
I'm
do.
pulling for
Yeah.
TCU, but I think Michigan has the edge.
I agree with that. Salman has his opinion.
What's your opinion, Soundo?
TCU does not have a chance.
That kind of hurts.
Also, Cheez-It has the market cornered.
Cheese, it does have the market cornered. If you were a Cheese Nips or Wales fan back in the day, you're
out.
gone.
Yeah.
Cheese, it's got it all.
Or even Goldfish. Their rival
Yeah, the snack that smiles back.
versus a square piece of cheese.
I love me some square cheese. What can I say? But we've both got Georgia and Michigan.
Yeah.
I don't want to give predictions for the national championship
No,
yet.
we'll wait.
We're going to wait until we know exactly who's in it.
Yeah, we'll wait till it's Ohio State TCU because we're always wrong.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. But quick question before we move on. Do you think the committee got the teams right? I know there was a little bit of controversy with TCU losing in their championship. Should Ohio State get in? They didn't even make the championship. Do you think it's the right 4 teams?
I do. I do. I know there's a lot of, especially, from your respective school, you're probably, screaming at the committee. But from outside looking in, because we're not a part of this.
Nope.
I think they did get it right. I think Ohio State going back into it, even though they lost to Michigan, was the right call because USC lost to Utah in their conference. And a lot of people wanted Bama to get in. They had 2 losses. Ohio State was really the only team left that was up for debate.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad they got their chance to come back in, even though I'm not big on Ohio State. But I just think they got it right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Top 2 teams were, you can't debate that. It's Georgia and Michigan. There's no way they'd not make it in. TCU, a lot of people said, oh, they just lost. How are they going to make it in? But it was their only loss all year long. Their only losses in their championship game, and it was to a team they played for a second time. A loss to a team, it's hard to beat the same team twice.
Exactly, yeah.
Everybody says it, and it's true. So, losing that second game against a Kansas State team that had a lot to prove doesn't say as much about TCU as it does about Kansas State to me. I think TCU is still one of the best 4 teams in the country. There's a reason they didn't lose until the Big 12 championship. That 4th spot was really debated. It could have been USC, could have been Bama, could have been Ohio State. Even some people were pushing for Tennessee.
I don't know about that.
But, I mean, yeah, I don't know about Tennessee because although they beat LSU and they beat Bama, they lost to Georgia and they, got handed out by Georgia. And then they just lost to South Carolina, who, I mean, they're a hot team right now. But they got blown out by South Carolina, too. So that takes them out for me. Bama also had 2 losses. A lot of people saying, oh, it was only a combined 3 points. Bama only had 2 losses by a combined 3 points. If they kick an extra field goal, they win both those games, they probably go to the SEC championship. But guess what? They didn't.
No,
okay?
they didn't. They lost.
They lost 2 SEC games, didn't even earn the right to go to Atlanta. So to me, that takes them out the running too. USC had 2 losses, but they were to the same team in Utah who was not, they were not ranked better than them. USC should have won both those games. And if you look at Ohio State versus USC, Ohio State with 1 loss, only being to the number 2 school in the country, whereas USC has 2 losses to a double-digit team. You've got to put in Ohio State. Committee got this one right.
Yeah, I agree. The one thing, coming off of the Tennessee comment you made, I think Tennessee, like if it was up between Bama and Tennessee, I would have given it to Tennessee. Only because they beat Bama.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like I feel like if you're tied with record, even though you might have lost, they lost to South Carolina, which was big.
It's a toss-up for me either way. I think they're ranked 5 and 6 right now. So,
Yeah,
I mean...
5 and 6. Bama's 5, Tennessee's 6.
Yeah, so, I mean, either way, it makes sense. I might have gone Bama just because their only losses were to Tennessee and LSU, whereas Tennessee lost to South Carolina. I think the Tennessee-LSU combo, by only 3 points, holds a little bit more, in my opinion, than the 30-point loss to South Carolina does.
Hey, they
either
turned
way,
it around at the end of the season, South Carolina.
They did. And, real quick, I don't know how quick it's going to be because there's a lot of them. But I want to have some fun. Before the games start on Friday, let's predict every single bowl game. You don't have to give me scores. We're just going to go off the dome. I'm going to read off the teams. You tell me which team is going to win these bowl games. There's over 40 of them, so here we go.
Yeah, let's knock it out.
Bahamas Bowl, Miami, Ohio versus UAB.
UAB.
In the Cure Bowl, UTSA versus Troy.
That's a good matchup.
That is a good matchup. 24 and 25 in the country.
I'm gonna go UTSA.
I'm going to go Troy. In the Fenway Bowl, held in the Fenway Park in Boston, my favorite team, the Red Sox. Shout out to the Red Sox. You suck at making offseason moves. The Cincinnati Bearcats versus the Louisville Cardinals.
I'm gonna go Cincinnati.
I'm going to go Cincinnati. Jackson State versus North Carolina Central. Jackson State, Deion Sanders is now in Colorado. We'll talk about that. But
I think he's already set him up for success so far this year. I'm gonna go Jackson State.
yeah, Jackson State's almost unbeatable. They look awesome. Next one, New Mexico Bowl, SMU versus BYU.
I'm gonna take BYU.
I'm going to go SMU. We've got the LA Bowl, Washington State versus Fresno State.
Washington State.
Washington State, shout out to Mike Leach. Rice versus Southern Miss in the Lending Tree Bowl.
Southern Miss.
Southern Miss. Florida versus Oregon State in the Las Vegas Bowl.
Ooh,
That's an interesting one.
that is an interesting because we know Florida's
Florida's a
their
very
own-
inconsistent team.
held their own at the beginning of the season and then kind of just crumbled.
But Oregon State
was
is ranked in the top
opposite.
20.
Yeah,
They're like 18 or something.
I'm gonna go Florida.
I'm going to go Oregon State. Go Beavers. Frisco Bowl, North Texas versus Boise State.
Boise State.
Give me Boise, yeah. Marshall versus UConn. Two teams I did not think would make bowl games.
I'm gonna go Marshall.
I'm going to go UConn. Jim Moore, I got them boys buzzing. Eastern Michigan versus San Jose State. I'm not going to pretend. You know, some of these games, I can't pretend to know anything about these teams. Who we going?
San Jose.
San Jose. Liberty versus Toledo. Liberty just got rid of Hugh Freeze. He's going on over to Auburn.
I'm still gonna take Liberty.
I'm going to take Liberty as well. In the New Orleans Bowl, Western Kentucky versus South Alabama.
Western Kentucky.
South Alabama, why not?
Got
Baylor
a few
versus Air
connections up
Force.
there. Baylor.
Baylor. UL versus Houston in the Independence Bowl.
UL hasn't been the same team we've seen recently.
6-6 this year after going 10-2 and 9-3 the past two seasons.
I'm gonna take Houston.
I'm going to take Houston as well. Sorry, Louisiana fans. Wake Forest versus Missouri.
Missouri. Oh,
Mm-hmm. Makes you second think. Wake Forest was really good and have died off at the end of the year.
Missouri only lost to Georgia by what, 4 points?
Yeah, something like that. Like they gave Georgia one of the biggest fights all year.
Yeah, they can hang. I'm gonna go Missouri.
I'm
Shout
gonna
out
go.
SEC.
I'm gonna go Wake Forest just because I think
Chris Paul.
they've shown me more. Ugh. Middle Tennessee State versus San Diego State.
San Diego State.
New Mexico State. Oh, I didn't pick one.
No,
San
you
Diego State. New Mexico State versus Bowling Green.
New Mexico State.
Bowling Green. It's a cool name. Georgia Southern versus Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Buffalo. Memphis versus Utah State.
Utah State.
Memphis. Coastal Carolina versus East Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl.
Coastal Carolina.
Coastal Carolina. Even though Grayson McCall just entered the transfer portal, really good quarterback. Mark my words. Wisconsin versus Oklahoma State.
Give me OSU.
Give me OSU as well. UCF versus Duke. That's a pretty good one.
UCF. Not the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
No. That's the best bowl. UCF.
Yeah.
Liberty Bowl. Kansas versus Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Oregon versus North Carolina. That's a good one. That's
that
going to
will
be a good one.
I'm going to go UNC.
I'm going to go Oregon. In the Texas Bowl, we've got Texas Tech and Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
I've watched Ole Miss more. Give me Ole Miss. Syracuse versus Minnesota in the Pinstripe Bowl.
I'll take Minnesota.
I'll take
Golden
Syracuse. I'll take Syracuse. They held it against Clemson earlier in the year.
They did.
And in the infamous Cheez-It Bowl, who's going to wake up feeling the cheesiest? Oklahoma versus Florida State.
Give me Florida State.
Florida State, for sure. In the Alamo Bowl, we've got Texas versus Washington. That's going to be
These
a
are
really
good
good
bowl
game.
games.
Texas versus Washington might be one of the best bowl games.
I'm going to take Washington.
I'm going to take Washington as well. Texas is not back. Speaking of the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Maryland versus NC State.
Give me NC State.
I agree. The Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl.
What?
Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. You know it. UCLA versus Pitt.
UCLA.
Pitt. Notre Dame versus South Carolina in the Gator Bowl.
South
Two
Carolina.
hot teams. Very hot teams. Notre Dame's going to slow them down. Marcus Freeman. Here we go. The Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl. Ohio versus Wyoming.
Give me Ohio.
I don't care about either of these teams. Let's go Wyoming.
Because Reese is there right now, right?
Yeah, that's it. Shout out Reese. In the Orange Bowl, we've got Tennessee versus Clemson. 2 orange teams in the Orange Bowl. They should both wear all orange uniforms. That would be a marketing
No,
scandal.
they shouldn't.
Nah, I'd love it. Tennessee versus Orange, number 6 versus number 7.
Give me Tennessee. I think they'll
Clemson's hotter. Give me Clemson.
I think they'll get back to what they started with.
Clemson smoked UNC. And
DJ
Tennessee doesn't have Hendon Hooker, so I'll
DJ
take.
Ukulele might fall apart.
I don't even like him, but just give me Clemson. Iowa versus Kentucky.
Kentucky. Iowa's not been.
I'll take
themselves
Kentucky.
this
Iowa
year.
stinks. Sugar Bowl happening right down in our backyard. Alabama versus Kansas State. That
Kansas
should be
State.
a good one. Wow. Really?
I think Alabama's going to win. I don't want them to, but
I want Kansas State to win, and
but I'm
after what they just did to
pretty
TCU,
pretty sure Alabama's.
I'm
gonna
taking
win.
Kansas State
Oh.
because I hate Bama. Sorry about it. Mississippi State versus Illinois.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Citrus Bowl, LSU versus Purdue. We'll have to wait until later. Here we go. USC versus Tulane. Shout out to Tulane. Number 16 in the country in the
it's
Cotton Bowl.
a shame that they have to play USC.
It sucks that they have to play USC because Caleb Williams is about to pop
They
off.
will get skull dragged.
USC might win by 30. And then finally, the Rose Bowl. We've got number 8 Utah versus number 11 Penn State.
Give me Utah.
Give me Penn State. Shout out to Chad.
We'll have to watch this back and
then
cement our picks.
yeah. I mean, it's going to take a lot of homework here to make sure we get all of our right picks. But hey, we said it here. One of us might get it perfect. Chances are we get like 10 each. All right, moving on from college football, let's talk about some basketball.
Okay.
Because the New Orleans Pelicans are the best team in the West. They are the number 1 seed in the West right now, and in my opinion, the best team in the league.
Yeah, I can stand behind that.
18-8, number 1 seed in the West, just
Totally.
coming off of 2 wins against the Suns.
Totally unbiased opinion. They are the best.
Totally unbiased. Just watch them play. And you know what? Not even that. Let me give you some numbers to back up what I'm saying. So the Pelicans have the 3rd best offense in points per game this season. They have the 8th best defense in points per game this season. They allowing the 8th least points. They're the only team in the entire NBA to be top 10 in both statistics. Only team. They're also number 1 in point differential, averaging a win of 6.8 points per game. And not only that, but they're doing this without Brandon Ingram and Herb Jones for the past 6 games.
Yeah.
Brandon Ingram hasn't played in 9 games, Herb Jones in 6. And
Yeah, I feel like our team really hasn't been healthy this whole season. It's kind of been like, miss a few starters here, a few there.
yeah, and
CJ was out for a while.
CJ was out for a little bit. Brandon Ingram's been out twice. Herb's been out.
Zion's been out
Zion
a few times.
Zion was out for a little bit, but he's been a lot healthier than we normally see
Yeah,
him.
at the beginning he was kind of like, it was like a day-to-day, like he might play this game, he won't play the next one.
There's only been
something like that.
3 guys on the entire team who have played every single game, and that's JV, Jose, and Trey Murphy. And, I mean, we've won 7 in a row, and we've won 12 out of our last 14. We are playing phenomenal basketball right now. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of these Pelicans. And not only that, it's not like we're winning these games against, like, bad teams. We're beating high-caliber teams. We beat the Suns back-to-back in our last 2 games on a homestand. We beat the Nuggets by 15 last week. 2 weeks ago, we beat the Raptors by 18 points. I mean, not only are we beating good teams, we're beating good teams by a lot.
Yeah.
These Pelicans they're playing really, really well. I mean, we all had them finishing a top 3 or 4 seed in the West, but they're number 1 right now, and they're not looking back.
Your dad
What's up, Gerald?
made a comment. Gerald might not have thought this one through.
Oh, no, what'd he say?
He's taking Tulane
No,
over USC.
it's a homer thing, you know?
I mean, I love the support.
You know what it is? It's the wheelbarrow parade from Garyville.
Yeah.
He was a Tulane guy back then when he was a young lad.
A wee lad.
Just a wee lad cheering for the Green Wave.
I would love to see him win.
Yeah, I would love to see Tulane win. Don't get me wrong. If Tulane wins, I'm going to be extremely happy. That's awesome for them. But I just think
USC
I want
very
Caleb
good.
Williams to be a Saint, so automatically USC should win. But getting back to the Pels, Zion is exactly what we wanted and expected him to be right now. He is playing phenomenal basketball. He's averaging 25, 7, and 4 on 61% from the field. I mean, he's the most efficient player in basketball. He's top 15 in points. And over the past 3 games, he's averaging over 30. So, I mean, he is just playing phenomenal basketball right now. Thank you, Zion, for being healthy and doing what people expected you to do.
Yeah, a lot of people were doubting him when he came back healthy after missing a whole season, saying that, he's not going to be the guy they expect him to be. Mm-hmm. He's kind of got a certain role that not a lot of players can fill, but at the same time, it's kind of like a minimum role where you can only do 1 or 2 things. And like they always thought he was going to be just a rebounder or a putback kind of guy down in the paint, but he's shown he can do it all.
He's doing everything.
Yeah.
He's getting rebounds. He's playing much better defense than we've seen in the past with Zion. He had some defensive troubles, but he's getting a lot better. He looks like an actual leader of this team right now, and everyone loves him. And he's embraced. A lot of people are like, oh, he doesn't want to be in New Orleans, blah, blah, blah. He's embracing the city, and the city's embracing him back.
Food. He ain't going nowhere.
You ain't got to say all that, bro. But yeah, and he's also making a little bit of history. If he continues on the current pace, he will only be the second player in NBA history to average 24-plus points on less than 16 attempts a game. The only other guy to do it, a guy he got comped to a lot in college, Charles Barkley.
Wow.
So, putting his name up there with Hall of Famers. Zion's playing really, really well. Pelicans are playing really well, and they're actually playing tonight against the Jazz. So that'll be a fun game because the Jazz they started off hot, 10-3, and 5-11 since. So we'll see how the Pels do going into Utah. Talking about the NBA as a whole, what's your biggest surprise from the NBA this year?
I'd probably have to go with Golden State.
Not been as good as we expected.
No. And it's really not like they've been pretty healthy.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Clay missed a few,
but they're like 14-13, right? Just above 500.
Yeah, they're just above 500. I think what it is they can't play on the road for some reason. Like, I think their splits are like, I think of their 13 wins, like 9 of them are at home. Like they're just not winning games on the road, and I don't know what that means for anything. But
yeah, a lot of people were saying that they have almost the exact same roster. Looking at them to go back to back here, and it's not looking very good.
Yeah,
especially from what I can see on your computer.
Yeah, quick update on the Warriors. Actually, they are losing 80-59 right now against the Milwaukee Bucks, and that I gave them too much credit on the road. They're 2-11 when playing an away game.
Wow.
So if the Warriors are traveling, take the other team. It sounds like. I would say my biggest surprise are the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're under 500 right now, and we all had them as like a top 16.
Yeah, especially with that.
Like I thought they were above the play-in for sure.
Yeah, especially with that roster that they developed.
Yeah, they've got Rudy, they've got Cat, they've got Ant, they've got D'Lo. They've got some names and some really good players, and they're not meshing for some reason. I don't know what it is.
But the Timberwolves don't mesh well.
Timberwolves are not performing how we expected them to. So I would say that's probably my biggest surprise out of the NBA this year. Let's go international. Let's talk about a little thing that everybody's been watching. The most I've ever watched this sport in my entire life over the past 2 weeks.
Has it made you a soccer fan?
No, not soccer fan. I'm more interested in it than I was before. I wouldn't go as far as to say fan. That's a strong word. But you're the soccer guy or the football guy, so go ahead, give us the rundown. What's happened in the World Cup, man?
So first, it's called soccer.
It is called soccer. You're right. My bad. Didn't mean to offend you like that.
Following today, Argentina defeated Croatia 3-0.
Yeah, dominated.
Yeah, scored 2 in the first half and then came right out the gate and put another one in the back of the net. So they're advancing to the finals, which means that Lionel Messi finally has a shot at a World Cup.
Elusive World Cup for Messi here.
A lot of people are saying that if he secures this World Cup title, it kind of cements his status as the GOAT.
I mean, you know how I feel about this. I think he's the GOAT already. I don't know why, but everything I've ever seen, I'm like, yeah, Messi's the best soccer player of all time. He's the best to ever do it, and if he gets a World Cup, that proves it for me.
Yeah, especially with the way he's playing this World Cup, it's he's kind besides that their first game where they played Saudi Arabia and lost, they've kind of just dominated. Especially once they made it out of the group stage, they kind of struggled to get out of there, but they did, and they're proving that they deserve to be here. Now tomorrow, what I can't wait for, France will be playing Morocco.
Morocco should not have made it this far.
A team in France that everybody
Expected to be
expects to go back to back. Really, I mean,
here. Yeah.
outside of Brazil, Germany, who was not as good as people thought they were. Belgium, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
England can't see straight. They, just kick the ball over the goal on a penalty.
Twice.
But yeah, France, especially with they're missing 3 starters. One at each level too. So they're attacking their forwards. They're missing a starter. The midfield, they're missing a starter. A big name, Paul Pogba.
Mm-hmm.
And in the defense, their left back got hurt in the first game against Australia, and he's been ruled out for the rest. And they're playing against Morocco, a team that has got here almost on a whim.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Portugal in the quarters, which it completely shocked the world.
CR7.
What happened?
I mean, are you the GOAT if you don't even play? He didn't even play.
No.
The coach was like, "No, we're good. We don't need him."
They needed him.
Yeah, and he didn't play. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going on with that. Cristiano Ronaldo, widely regarded as a top 3 soccer player of all time, didn't see the field in a quarterfinal in the World Cup.
Yeah, it's
very shocking.
A lot of people are questioning it. I don't know if he had an underlying injury that they're not trying to make public, or some kind of issues with the coaching staff, or whatever it may be. But I think Cristiano Ronaldo should definitely be playing in a quarterfinal game against a very winnable game against Morocco.
Yeah, especially against a team where everybody's like, yeah, even without Ronaldo, they can win.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to make a statement.
Maybe so.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Maybe they were playing for the finals.
Yeah,
or the semifinals.
Yeah, they weren't. They were trying to conserve him, thinking they could win without him, and then look what happened.
So France and Morocco play tomorrow. Winner advances to the final. Loser, which is something that most Americans aren't familiar with, but the loser of that game will play Croatia for 3rd place.
Yeah, when you first told me this, I was really shocked. I was like, I've never heard of the losers playing in a game to, the only time you really see that is fantasy football.
Yeah.
Which, that's not, you don't see that on a big stage in professional sports.
I mean, I'm a fan of it because it gives,
I think it's really
gives
cool.
more to play for. It's an extra game for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that they should implement that into more sports?
I think it depends on the sport. I could see it in basketball. For the NBA Finals, if you added some incentive for that 3rd team to play, if they say, hey, you get a lottery pick or something like that for that 3rd place team. I mean, lottery pick's kind of crazy. That's not I'm just saying, if you give some sort of incentive,
maybe a bonus for the players
in either the NBA or the MLB
city or something.
Yeah, just a little bonus. Each player gets $10,000. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But that's a pretty cool little thing. I like it. You don't see it in American sports, but I don't see a problem with it. It's pretty cool.
All right. Let's hear your predictions for the rest of the World Cup.
Yeah. So, I don't have much knowledge. Before the World Cup started, actually, the first game that I watched was Belgium versus Canada. I was riding with Canada.
It was a good game
because their team was just fun to watch, and they had some really good athletes.
They have a really fun, high energy team.
I enjoyed watching Canada, so I was riding with them. Once they got knocked out, I was kind of like, I'll just watch the games, see what happens. But I've been latching on to this Argentina team. For the past 2 rounds, you thought Croatia was going to beat them, and who'd they play in the quarters?
The Netherlands.
Yeah, and you were high end on the Netherlands going to beat them, and I was like, nah, Argentina got it. I don't know why. I just wanted to go against you, and it worked. And then I did it again.
That was a really
and
good
it worked
game too. The Netherlands versus Argentina.
Netherlands was a great team.
Came back, tied it up,
beat us unfortunately, but
took it to
they were a
penalties.
really good team. But I'm riding with Argentina the whole way. I like some of the names on France, like Kylian Mbappe, our buddy Chiez. He's playing for France.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think Argentina is going to pull it out. I think Messi's going to finally get that elusive World Cup title and cement his status as the greatest soccer player of all time.
Could be. So who do you have advancing between France and Morocco?
France.
France.
Yeah, I should have said that.
And then Argentina.
Yeah,
being
I've got France. I think they're just. There's a reason they were the favorite or top 3 favorite going into the tournament, and they've made it this far. They're not slowing down now.
And then for the third place game,
I think Croatia is going to beat Morocco. Croatia has another team that shouldn't have really made it this far, in my opinion, from what I saw before the tournament. I mean, they were like plus 5,000 to win, and yet they made it into the semis. So I've got Croatia winning. They've got Luka, not basketball Luka, soccer Luka.
Modric, not Doncic.
Yes, correct. And he's fun to watch.
Oh yeah,
and I loved watching him after the game too. So
he's one of those players that he's not overly athletic.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like Messi, where you could see him using his mind a lot.
he's
Kind of
just really good at what he does.
predicting where the defense is going to shift to, or where a midfielder will be, and just sending some really good balls into the box.
Yeah, and I mean, no hate on Morocco. They shouldn't have made it this far, and I love an underdog story. I have no problem with it. But I've watched Croatia, I've watched Argentina, and I've watched France. I have yet to watch Morocco.
That's fair.
So I'll take Croatia in that third place game with Argentina beating France in the finals.
So I'm going to go France beating Morocco, moving to the finals, and then winning back to back.
Okay, I respect it.
Yeah, I've been a fan of France for the
You
past
have.
3 World Cups.
You have.
I just think that they're.
What are we laughing at, dog?
I'll get to that one.
All right.
I think their offense is just way too powerful. I mean, with Olivier Giroud up there, who just passed up Thierry Henry earlier in the group stages for most goals scored in international games, and he's been playing great in these knockout rounds. So has Kylian Mbappe. He hasn't been the scorer for the most part, but he's set up a lot of scoring, because their defense has to account for him being the fastest man on planet Earth
Yeah.
with a soccer ball at his feet, which sets up his teammates.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that from what I watched in the Croatian Argentinian game today, that their defense won't be able to handle that kind of speed along with that kind of intelligence and placement. So I have France beating Argentina in the final. And then I also have Croatia beating Morocco for third place.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I really can't talk in your opinions. You know way more than me. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know a bunch. I'm just kind of saying stuff and hope it sounds good. But what do we laugh at over there? That was good.
So our buddy Reese, congratulations.
Congratulations to Reese. We were
Just got married.
We got to see him on Friday get married. We watched him pretty up close. Some could say. One of us was standing directly next to him.
Yeah, I was breathing down his neck the whole time he was getting married.
He was sweating his butt off.
Trying to cool
Cried.
him off. A little.
We love Reese. If you've watched before, you've probably seen him on one of our best friends. Really happy for him and his wife. Weird to say that because he's. I mean, you graduated high school with him. Y'all were a year above me, and now he's married.
That's crazy.
Shout out to Reese. Thanks for being a good guest on here, and thanks for dropping in the comments. What'd he say?
So he said, according to ESPN, Jazz have a 57% chance to beat the Pels tonight.
Bull.
Pels are 18-8, the Jazz 15-14, and beat us in overtime when they were hit, and we didn't seem to be hitting on all cylinders.
It's about the best English I've ever heard from Reese.
And Soundman commented on that.
Mm-hmm.
Said, aren't you supposed to be making babies right now, Reese?
Yeah, Reese, you're in Wyoming, man. Get them snowmobiles moving, dog.
Reese said he's at dinner. Juliet is in the restroom. So he had to tune into the boys.
Appreciate you, buddy. Keep on having fun on that honeymoon. Relish in the fact that you are a married man, and hopefully that doesn't change.
Yeah, I mean, while we have him, I hope he's still watching.
Yeah.
Because I know he's a big Zion fan. He has been for a longest time. And then you compared him to Charles Barkley because of that stat. So, like, you can see where Reese is. He's also a fan of Charles Barkley, but you can see what he likes in basketball. Kind of bigger guy who not scared to slash to the rim, grab a rebound. So, like Charles Barkley, Zion, Kenny Hustle, literally in his name. Zach LaVine, which I don't think he's much of a fan of him anymore, but back in the
used
day,
to be. Yeah, I know, but Reese loves him some Kenny Hustle, man.
gotcha.
I mean, that's his guy. So, where is Kenny Hustle? What's Kenny Hustle's whereabouts right now? Do we know?
I'll find out.
All right.
Just for Reese.
Yeah, just for Reese. While you find that, quick update: the Pels are currently winning 9-6, but we're only like 3 minutes into the game. So,
Kenny Hustle's with the Thunder.
okay, shout out to Kenny Hustle, Reese. I know you're paying attention to every little stat from Mr. Ken Rich Williams. Speaking about stats, we if you didn't see our Facebook post, we picked the winners of this past weekend for the NFL. I went 9-12.
I wish.
Pretty proud of that.
Your loins.
Shout out to the Loins, the Detroit Loins. I mean, they're. What did he say?
He was still listening. He said, "How dare you say his name?"
Love you, Reese. But yeah, I went 9 for 12. Shout out to my Detroit Lions. I've been on them all season.
They went through a rough
You
patch.
can't say I'm a bandwagon.
No,
I was
since Hard Knocks came out. Really.
no, since Dan Campbell was hired as the coach, really, because Dan Campbell's that dude. And guess what? They're 6-7.
Yeah,
and
Big
2
turnaround.
spots out of the playoffs.
they did not start off.
And they
Great.
only have 5 games left, or no, they're 5-7, or whatever. They're 6-7. They have 4 games left, and all 4 of them are very winnable games. Their toughest opponent is the Jets next week. Everybody else has a losing record on the season.
Do they play the Jets home or away?
They play the
I'll find
Jets away. They are playing in New York in MetLife.
That might be a tough game.
It's going to be a tough game, but I think they can pull it out. I mean,
I think maybe Flacco might be starting for the Jets.
True. Because Mike White's hurt and Zach Wilson stinks. So there's a realistic way the Detroit Lions can make the playoffs. And if that happens, I'm going to be like, y'all won't want to be around me if the Detroit Lions are in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. But
They
yeah,
have a shot.
I went 9-12. How'd you do?
I went 500
Hey.
and 12.
No, that's not how that works. 6 for 12 from the boy.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens.
I think we've both always been at or above 500.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever fell below 500 at any point.
I lie.
Maybe like 7 for 15.
Week 1 and 2.
We didn't talk about week 1 on the podcast, though, for a reason.
Okay.
Shh, don't mention week 1, man. Make us sound good.
I mean, it's week 1. You don't know what's
you don't know
happening.
what's gonna
You're
happen.
completely basing off of preseason and off-season moves.
Yeah, and our next episode is going to be on Friday. We're going to talk a little bit about the playoff picture on Friday as well, because the NFL's heating up. Let's get into our bets. So every week we do a road dog, underdog, betting underdog, who is going on the road. This week I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens going into Cleveland to take on the Browns. They're plus 2.5 because they don't have Lamar. Tyler Huntley went down with a concussion, so we don't know what's happening. It's going to be weird. Going to be a weird team we see out there for Baltimore, but Cleveland has shown me nothing that proves they can win a football game with Deshaun Watson behind the helm. So I'm going to take Baltimore.
Yeah, if I was coaching Cleveland, probably would put back
Jacoby
because
Deshaun looks bad. Maybe there's a reason.
I'm especially like this late in the season. I mean, Jacoby's already set in that chemistry with his receivers and his backs. And they weren't looking bad.
No, I mean they weren't they were under 500, but it
was close.
They were playing decent football. They weren't they didn't look terrible. Like they were winning games, and games that they were losing weren't like blowouts.
Yeah, and they were meant to lose those games. For being honest.
Yeah, I mean they never underperformed. Really, is something I would say. Right now, I think they are. So who knows? But what's your road dog?
I'll be taking the Steelers over the Carolina Panthers.
Coming off a big win, Carolina is.
And plus 2.5.
Same lines for both of our games. That's risky because of field goals, but it's not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, I mean, Panthers coming off a big win against the Seahawks. That's one of the games we both missed.
Yeah.
But Pittsburgh's up and down. But I like some talent they have on that team.
I kind of like that Pittsburgh team. I mean, I wouldn't touch them for fantasy purposes, but I can see them pulling off this one. I think Carolina's game last week might have been a fluke.
Yeah, could be. I mean, they ran all over that Seahawks defense.
I don't know what Seattle did differently.
Made no sense.
They should probably stop doing that.
Whatever you did, don't do it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are our road dogs.
I also think the Steelers' rush defense much better than the Seahawks.
Yeah. So since we're not going to be here before Thursday, we always like to do parlays for the Mondays and the Thursdays. So let's do a parlay for Thursday Night Football. We'll start off with Soundman's parlay.
The simplest of parlay king.
He's always a 2-leg guy, and I predicted this one before he even sent it to us. We asked him, and I was like, "This is what it's going to be," and I was right. And I'm glad I was right because I agree with him, which you'll see in a second. He picked San Fran spread, which is -3.5. They are going to be taking on the Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night. So it's going to be San Fran versus Seattle. He's got San Fran -3.5, coming off a blowout win against Tampa Bay. Beat him by 28 points.
Yeah.
And then he's got the over of 43 points, which San Fran almost scored by themselves. So -3.5 and over 43, you get that at +273. Love it, Sound Man. Absolutely love it.
Great bet.
What's yours looking like?
So I also have the San Fran spread and the over. And then I have the running backs both getting a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey and Kenneth Walker both to score a touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great bet.
Yeah, all that together will get you +804.
Yeah, I mean, I love that too. I have San Fran money line instead of the spread, just a little bit safer, just in case there's a field goal. It's a divisional matchup, you never know. But I've got San Fran money line. I've got the over of the 43 as well. And then I've actually got CMC 2 touchdowns. I mean, he is a dynamic athlete in both the pass and run game. They use him a ton with a rookie 7th-round pick quarterback starting and Brock Purdy, Elijah Mitchell out. Everything's falling on CMC. Debo's probably going to be out too with an ankle sprain.
He just can't stay healthy.
So
I felt
everything's going to fall on CMC, and he's going to make the most of it. I've got him scoring 2. All that together is 693. So we've all got San Fran winning. We've all got the over of the 43 points, and then me and you threw in some touchdowns. So it's really nice to see us agreeing with Soundman because he's a great bettor.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that. Moving on from bets, let's get into fantasy football for just about 5 minutes. This is the Fantasy 5.
It'll probably be less.
Probably be less because we don't want to talk about what's going on. So we've talked about League of Record on here many a time. Big Money League. We both missed the playoffs.
Yeah. Y'all were pretty close.
Oh, close is an understatement, my boy. The R&B, the Rhythm and Blues, me and Reese missed the playoffs by 3.7 points. 3.7. And it was all on Mike Evans' shoulders in that Saints game. If Mike Evans had caught 2 more passes, if Mike Evans had scored a touchdown, if Paulson Adebo wouldn't have tackled him before he caught a touchdown, he was wide open 60-yard bomb. Mike Evans catches that ball. I'm in the playoffs, and I'm looking to make a run at it, but didn't go our way, so we fell out. We are the 7th team. Just missed the playoffs. I hate that Danny's in there.
Yeah.
The Cajun Cannon boom bull crap makes me so angry. I hope he gets blown up by 700 points. But there is a guy who's a part of this podcast who did make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's Mr. Soundman himself.
Not
He's
only-
just good at everything he does, huh?
Not only did he make the playoffs, but he got a bye.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
was the number 1 seed. His team is good.
very good. Number 1 seed for a reason.
But the thing that's worked out most for him is his stack, which is
A.J. Brown.
Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown.
Disgusting. And you know what the worst part about all this is? Didn't even draft his team.
Lionel Frankenstein.
Lionel
did.
Frankenstein came in and just made this man a God squad. You know, there's only one thing that I think Soundman's not good at, and that's having good shoulders. I'm just kidding.
I can get us an
just fell.
update of the playoffs.
Ooh, update on
Because
the
they
playoffs.
did
You say.
start. Not this week, but the last, because our commissioner messed up.
Oh, true. But yeah, sorry, I had to throw in that shoulder joke in there. Shout out to the Yo-Yo Smugglers, number 1 seed. If anybody's going to win the championship in this league, I hope it's him.
Me too.
Or Sean. I hope it's Sean too. I hope it's either Soundman or Sean. What are we looking at for the playoffs in the league of record here?
So, in the one game, which was Sean, Rocket Man, and Jack, the Meat Swords, Sean got blown out.
Oh, so Sean can't win it. Okay, sorry, Sean.
95 to 167.
Man, I was really
I was
rooting for you.
Josh Jacobs put up 30 for the Meat Swords. Jared Goff put up 37. Jamar Chase had 30. Evan Ingram had 40.
Man, he just everything was rolling for Jack, huh?
Yeah, Meat Swords coming in hot into the next round. And Danny lost. Cajun Cannon got beat by Suck My Dak.
Oh, God, that was so close. I got scared what you were going to say right there.
Who has a very good team.
Alex, huh?
Yes. Josh Allen, Christian McCaffrey.
Oh, my gosh.
Donta Foreman.
That's all you need.
Gabe Davis, Michael Gallup. His receivers are kind of lacking, but he also has Michael Pittman, who's on bye.
Seeing CMC and Josh Allen together is dangerous.
Yeah. San Fran's defense, George Kittle.
That's a good team.
Yeah.
He's got a squad, man. But, I'm looking for Soundman. We'll keep everybody updated as the weeks go on. Looking for Soundman to win that championship.
Yeah,
and maybe give us a cut. I don't know.
The matchups this week, we're looking at the Meat Swords will be playing Soundman.
Okay.
And Suck My Dak will be...
You've got to stop that.
What?
So close.
We'll be playing the Bums.
Oh, yes. The Ben Bums.
The Ben Bums, yes.
Let's, I'm hoping to see a Soundman blowout here and then carry that momentum into championship week.
Just curious, Soundman, who would you rather, if you advance to the finals, who would you rather play? Alex or Ben?
Yeah, drop it in the chat, Soundman. Let us know.
Because they both have pretty good teams.
Yeah, but I know we haven't talked about the Saints at all this episode, and that's for good reason. I don't like talking about them. But quick note, I just want to ask you one question about the Saints. We'll get into their game that they're going to be playing this upcoming week on Friday when we have our next episode. Who do you think and who do you want to be the quarterback next season for the Saints? I'll go first.
Okay.
Just to give you some time, because I already thought about it. I think Andy Dalton's going to be the quarterback, just because for some reason Dennis Allen is in love with him, and we're not going to get, as much as I want to get rid of Dennis Allen, we're not going to, just because we made a financial commitment to him, and he's Mickey Loomis's best friend. So we'll probably still have Dennis Allen, and we're probably going to keep Andy Dalton. But if you're asking me who I want, I say we sign Mr. Geno Smith.
That would be a good
Man
sign.
has had a great year. Yeah. He's on a 1-year contract. He's going to be a free agent. I know his stock would never be higher, so you're going to have to pay up. But he fits exactly what the Saints want to a T. Very accurate quarterback, makes the right decisions, and can run an offense very efficiently. So if we're talking about wants, Geno Smith would be a great guy to bring in.
Yeah, as far as who I think, there's really no telling. Andy Dalton's probably a good bet. But who I want, I'd like to sign Jimmy G.
Oh, good. Yeah.
He's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah. And, with an injury, his stock could go down. Means he's cheaper. Could see it. They've got Trey Lance. They got Brock Purdy.
Jimmy G would be a nice option. I would also like to see them, put together a package and get back into the first round to get a draft and maybe draft a quarterback, maybe Max Duggan.
Yeah, I mean, there is some quarterbacks in this draft. Max Duggan's in there, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Will Levis,
Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, I mean, they've got guys in this draft. We'll see how that goes. And they could always pick one in the second round, but I don't know. I don't know who's going to fall to the second round.
Yeah, there's not a lot of teams that are desperate for a quarterback right now. There are a few, but
it's going to be a weird draft, and I'm a huge draft guy. You know how much I love the draft, so we'll definitely talk about that when it gets closer. Who the prospects are, who the Saints might get, but I mean, I don't really want to talk about the Saints anymore. I'm just tired of talking about them.
We got an update from Soundman. He said he would rather play Ben. He doesn't have a quarterback, which is true. He had started Taylor Heineke in the last game that he played.
Ew. Yeah, he really doesn't have a quarterback. That's fair. All right, so last thing before we head on out of here, I know we're sitting at 8:30 here, but that's because of the technical issues. Yeah. We're sitting at about an hour total. So, I know it's getting late for some people. You may or may not have work in the morning, so we'll get you out of here. But last thing before we go, if you didn't see or didn't hear, we did make some T-shirts featuring the Off the Dome logo on the front, letting you know we're presented by New Rock Radio on the back. Some really, really nice shirts. Our buddies over at Monster Inc.'s got those done for us. So
he also just got engaged.
He did get engaged. Shout out to Mike. Got engaged to his high school sweetheart.
Congratulations.
They've been together for forever. Knew both of them before the relationship. Know them now. Two really great people. Very happy for them as well. So congratulations to Mike. But yeah, so the shirts should be in by the end of the week, hopefully. So we should be able to get those. We will hand deliver them to you. The Off the Dome boys will get those to you. Don't worry about us shipping them to you, anything like that. We'll text everybody individually or get in touch with you somehow and let you know, hey, here's how you can pick them up, or we'll come drop them off to you, whatever you want. But the best way to pay for it is going to be Venmo. So Venmo at OTD Sports Pod. That is OTD Sports Pod. Venmo that account. If you got a small to an extra large, the T-shirt is going to be $18, and it's $21 for a 2X or a 3X. So if you got those, just make sure to Venmo us the money.
Unless your name's Cameron Knockhand.
Unless your name is Cameron Knockhand, you did indeed get a free shirt for answering the question on the last pod that we had very quickly. Shout out to you. But yeah, just go ahead and Venmo that account. If you can't Venmo or you need to pay in cash, something like that, email us at offthedomesportspod@gmail.com so we can get everything worked out. Again, offthedomesportspod@gmail.com. $18 for small to extra large, $21 for 2X or 3X. You can go ahead and Venmo OTD Sports Pod to get those paid for, and we'll make sure to get you those shirts whenever they come in, and I promise we will keep you updated on Friday, because hopefully they'll be in by Friday.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for Off the Dome tonight. It was a good episode. I know we had a lot of fun. We did a lot of prediction type stuff. That's my favorite stuff to talk about. Yeah. It's just like predicting the future and just
because of how wrong we usually are.
Not only that, but it gives us we have such different opinions that it lets us express those.
Yeah, I was about to say, unless we're talking about the baseball World Series where I was right and you took the Blue Jays.
Why are we? We don't have to bring that back up. We also don't have to bring up baseball at all because the Red Sox are so bad.
Hey, the Cubs. Oh,
Cody Bellinger. We'll talk about baseball on Friday. I promise.
Cubs signed Cody Bellinger.
I'm
excited.
The Red Sox got rid of
everyone except Bobby Dalbec.
So that's going to do it for Off the Dome tonight. We really appreciate everybody for listening. Don't forget, tomorrow night, December the 14th, 7 p.m., check in to the Radio House Studios platforms to listen to LA Strip. In these seats will be Thug Nasty and Shane interviewing the band as they play along to some of the best 80s rock music, all those air guitar favorites. Set list looks great, so make sure to check them out. That's on all the Radio House Studio platforms. They'll be right here in Studio A at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. We want to thank you for listening to the Off the Dome Sports Podcast. Thank you for listening in on newrockradio.us. We love you. We appreciate you. Don't forget to check us out on Friday at 7 p.m. We will be back in Studio A on New Rock Radio on Radio House. We'll see you then.
Took a break, but better hold your nose. Yeah, I've been cooking, don't inhale smoke. Been busy dropping hooks. Peter Pan can't leave his home. Hey, yeah, I prefer the backseat. I prefer a taxi. Who needs all the lime?